The Supreme Court Thursday asked the National Testing Agency to publish city-wise and center-wise NEET UG 24 examination results of all 23 lakh candidates masking their identities on its website by 12 p.m. Saturday. We direct the NTA to publish the marks obtained by students at the UG 24 NEET examination while at the same time without disclosing the identity of the students. The results should be declared city and center-wise by 12 noon on 20 July 24 and shall be uploaded on the website of the NTA. A three-judge bench presided by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud ordered. The bench comprising of these judges also questioned the centre's stand that the alleged leak of question papers in Hazaribagh had occurred just 1 hour before the start of the exam and termed it far-fetched. The CBI had detained 4 MBBS students from AIIMS Patna in connection with the alleged leak of the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test UG question paper. The CBI had shared phone numbers and photographs of some of the students. The agency has took the MBBS students under detention, said Gopal Krishna Pal, Executive Director of AIIMS Patna. He said the students were cooperating with the CBI. Police sources said the 4 students were suspected of having been engaged by the alleged paper leak kingpin, Sanjeev Mukhia's gang, to solve the question paper. Layered plantations, Miyawaki forest and aquatic forest, these are among techniques that could be incorporated to maximize the utility of land in Delhi, LG VK Saxena announced on Thursday. The Delhi Lieutenant Governor held a review meeting with officials on the status of the afforestation and greening spaces in the capital. The LG has set a target of planting 67 lakh trees and shrubs in 24-25 according to a statement by the LG office. Named after Japanese botanist Akira Miyawaki, this method involves planting 2 or 4 different types of indigenous trees within every square meter. In this method, the trees become self-sustaining and they grow to full length within 3 years. According to the statement by LG office in 23, a massive tree plantation saw more than 5 lakh trees being planted at Asola Bhati mines. In 23, around 1 lakh flowering trees including cherry blossom, chinar, Amaltas and Gulmohar were planted on the run-up to the G20 summit, according to the statement. People take shelter from the rain at Kartavyapur Thursday. Rain lashed part of the capital in the afternoon, bringing relief from sultry weather conditions. It is so scary to look at the huge tree that is bent all over. It may fall anytime. There is nobody to look into this, exclaimed a woman in her 70s, a regular at Saraswati Park in South Delhi's east of Kailash area. The woman's concern echoes that of several Delhi residents who visit its numerous parks regularly. According to several residents' welfare associations, a number of parks in the city are suffering of lack of keep up due to shortage of funds. The shoddy conditions of the parks is evident in the form of damaged trees, broken fencing around trees and shrubs, and dried leaves piled up in different corners. Construction work on Delhi Metro's 2 new corridors under Phase 4, Lajpat Nagar to Saket G Block and Indraprasth to Indralok, is likely to begin by the end of this year. Officials have said approval for the 2 corridors was received from the centre recently. The 2 corridors, covering a length of 20 km, will provide connectivity to several parts of South and Central Delhi. The Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, meanwhile, has sped up preliminary work on 2 corridors, alignment work under which surveys and studies are conducted to assess the routes from where the corridor will pass, its connecting points, and the statutory clearances it would need in the section has been completed, said officials. DMRC is at present working to secure statutory clearances from various departments concerned, officials said it. DMRC is in the process of obtaining statutory clearances including land acquisition from authorities concerned. Forest clearances and tree cutting permissions are also being taken at appropriate levels, said a senior DMRC official. Further processes regarding the planting and tendering for civil works are also in progress, said official. The entire work is going on at a very fast pace. The aim is to get clearances and start the construction soon by the end of this year, added an official. The Lajpat Nagar to Saket G Block corridor is envisaged to provide connectivity to Anduzganj, Greater Kailash 1, Chirag Delhi, Pushpa Bhavan, Pushpa Vihar, Saket District Center and Saket G Block. Amid uncertainty over the common university entrance test results, Jamia Millia Islamia held a meeting with the deans of the varsity Thursday and decided that they will convene their undergraduate session after the results are announced by the National Testing Agency. The varsity has partially adopted the CUT system using the scores for admission to 15 undergraduate courses and 5 master's programs. Jamia's officiating Vice Chancellor Shakil Ahmed said, "We have been assured that the CUT results will be announced by the end of July or early August, and we anticipate that though there is going to be a slight delay, it won't drastically affect our academic calendar. Hence, it will be manageable for us to commence the academic session after the results are announced. The delay comes amid controversies over alleged paper leaks in the crucial exams such as NEET, UG and UGC NET. The results were expected to be announced by June 30. The delay has also affected the academic calendar at central universities including JNU and Delhi University." Union Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw was supposed to preside over a function to launch books on President Draupadi Murmu on Thursday, which also happened to be his birthday. The derailment of the Chandigarh-Dibrugarh Express in UP forced him to skip the event. Referring to the recent assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump, the BJP Thursday accused the opposition of using words about Prime Minister Modi that could fuel violence. BJP spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi said Congress leader Rahul Gandhi used words like violence and murder in parliament and also had explained the throwing of an object at Modi's convoy on evidence of people's fear of the PM coming to an end. Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnaw too flagged words like hinsa and hatya, saying the kind of comments used by the opposition for PM is a matter of grave concern. Trivedi referred to assassination attempt on Trump and said Modi's security was endangered in Punjab when the Congress was governing the state. PM Modi is welcomed by Union Minister and BJP Chief JP Nadda as he arrives to meet party workers at the BJP headquarters in New Delhi on Thursday. Modi praised the efforts of the workers and encouraged them to put their best following his return to power for a third straight term. The PM also lauded their work and spoke of the party's successful journey over the decades. The Enforcement Directorate on Thursday raided the premises of Haryana Congress MLA Rao Dan Singh and his family as well as a metal fabricating company and its promoters as part of the money laundering probe linked to an alleged 1,300 crore bank loan fraud case. A law graduate and businessman Rao Dan Singh is a 4-time Congress MLA from the Mahendragarh constituency. The ED teams raided Singh's residence, his farmhouse and the premises of a metal fabricating company, Allied Stripes Limited, and its promoters Mohinder Agrawal and Gaurav Agrawal among others. About 15 locations in Mahendragarh, Bahadurgarh, Rewari, Gurugram, Delhi and Jamshedpur were searched by the ED teams. In its probe, the ED has found that Rao Dan Singh's family and companies took loan from the ASL that was eventually written off, sources said. Belonging to the Ahir community, Singh 68 has been a close aide of State ex-Chief Minister Bhupendra Singh Hooda, the leader of opposition in the State Assembly. Singh also contested the recent Lok Sabha polls from the Bhiwani Mahendragarh but lost to sitting BJP MP Dharamveer Singh with a margin of 41,000 votes. In his affidavit submitted to the Election Commission, declared his assets to be worth rupees 18 crore. Singh and his spouse Sandhya are in the business of fuel and automobile service stations in Mahendragarh and Gurgaon. He had also been the Haryana Football Association president in 2012. In the run-up to the Lok Sabha polls, Singh's son Akshat came under a scathing attack not only from the ruling BJP but also from the then Congress leader Kiran Chaudhary and her daughter Shruti. Shruti had won the Bhiwani Mahendragarh Lok Sabha seat in 2009 but lost in 14 and 19 polls. This time the Congress fielded Singh from the seat. Recently both Kiran and Shruti quit Congress and joined the BJP. Two army soldiers were injured in the early hours of Thursday in another militant attack in the forest areas of Desa in Jammu and Kashmir's Doda district. The attack took place at a school where the soldiers who have been conducting search operations in the area were spending the night. It was the third militant attack in the forest areas of Desa since the one on Monday night in the Koti Desa forest, during which 4 soldiers including a captain were killed. On Wednesday night also, militants engaged in a brief exchange of fire with security forces in the nearby lower Bhatta forest of Desa. Thursday's attack happened at the government high school in Jadan around 2 am. The troops had arrived there just a few hours earlier and were set to resume search operations at dawn. After the militants opened a fire, the troops retaliated and the exchange of fire continued till 5 am, after which the militants fled into the forest. 2 soldiers were included and one of them was in a serious condition, was airlifted to the Army's command hospital at Udhampur. The Assam government will take a bill to repeal the Assam Muslim Marriage and Divorce Registration Act of 1935 in the Assembly's forthcoming monsoon session, cementing a decision taken earlier this year to scrap the law. The 1935 Act lays down the process for registration of marriages and divorces in the state in line with Muslim personal law. In February, the cabinet decided to repeal it and approved the Assam Repealing Ordinance 24. On Thursday, Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sarma announced that the cabinet, after a meeting, had approved the tabling of Assam Repealing Bill 24 to repeal the 1935 Act and its rules. Sarma also announced that the cabinet had decided that alternative registration should be introduced for Muslim marriages, which will be considered in the next assembly session. The decision to do away with the 1935 Act has been touted by the government as a step to curb child marriages. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan Thursday hailed the heroics of Indian bravehearts in the Kargil War 25 years ago and said all efforts of Pakistan clearly fell short of its aim during the 1999 conflict. The proxy war that we witness today is a continuation of the same ideology and mindset that have not changed, he said. Speaking at the Kargil Divas Honours hosted by TV8 These, CDS also said besides recalling memories of a war, it is also important to look at its aftermath and draw the right lessons for the future. We must not repeat the same mistakes, he said. At the event, the CDS General Chauhan also presented awards to many Kargil heroes and to the family members of martyrs who had made the supreme sacrifice in the 1999 war. Pakistan always wanted to get even with us after the defeat in 71. The primitive occupation of Siachen Glacier by us in 84 was another humiliation which Pakistan suffered. Its operations in Kargil was to redeem its honor, but clearly all its efforts fell short of its aim, he said. The Kargil war, which has become synonymous to resoluteness, selflessness, fierce courage and determination of our armed forces, inspire and collectively exhorts all of us to focus towards the future threats and challenges, the CDS said. We must maintain a high degree of maintenance to face these kinds of challenges, he said. Lessons learned by shedding blood must remain ingrained with our military. Other instruments of national power dealing with security and defense of the country must also take note of those lessons. Elaborating on the circumstances that led to the 1999 Kargil war, former Army Chief N.C. Vij, retired, writes in his new book Alone in the Ring that intelligence agencies had gravely failed to detect the large purchases of winter fighting equipment from international weapons market by Pakistan and inaccurate assessment of research and analysis wing that there was no possibility of a war with Pakistan in the current year. The book, yet to be released, also dwells upon the lessons from the war at a time when India is gearing up to mark 25 years of Kargil Vijay Divas on July 26. General Vij was DG of military operations during the Kargil war and Vice Chief of Army Staff during Operation Parakram, following the terrorist attack on the parliament, and coordinated the largest mobilization of the army. In the book, General Vij writes that the Pakistan army had the advantage of surprise in the beginning and India was caught unawares due to an intelligence failure. Not only was the intrusion detected late, but also our intelligence agencies were unable to assess if the intrusion was by militants or by Pakistani army. He noted, adding that there was, however, an acute shortage of high quality survival equipment and at a time when the army was particularly poorly equipped for surveillance operations. He said it was also militarily difficult to anticipate Pakistan would launch such a risky operation at high altitude in extreme weather with little possibility of big gains. But intelligence agencies gravely failed to detect the large purchases of winter fighting equipment from international weapons market by Pakistan. The assessment of RO was categorically that there was no possibility of a war with Pakistan in the current year. This inaccurate assessment resulted in a strategic failure, he writes. The book also highlights that the Kargil Review Committee had held RO primarily responsible for the intelligence failure beside the lack of information sharing and coordination among agencies. They had failed to detect a change in the deployment of battalions in the area and addition of one battalion to force level normally deployed there. The committee also held military intelligence responsible to a lesser extent for not detecting the intrusion on the ground, it stated. The KRC concluded that intelligence failure was a single major factor leading to the Kargil conflict, the book noted. US President Joe Biden's re-election bid faced fresh turmoil after reports that top Democratic leaders had privately pushed the 81-year-old incumbent to end his campaign, while Donald Trump, 78, was set to accept the Republican presidential nomination on Thursday. US Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have also expressed deep concerns directly to Biden in recent days that he will not only lose the White House but also cost the party any chance of winning back in the House of Representatives in the November 5 election, according to reports in multiple news outlets. The White House said Biden was isolating and continuing to work after the president tested positive for COVID-19 during a campaign visit to Nevada, forcing him to return to his Delaware home to work in isolation. His campaign is now pursuing a razor-thin path through re-election, with 4 of the 7 most competitive states now looking increasingly out of reach. The Trump campaign, meanwhile, says it believes it is now competitive to Democratic-leaning states including Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. We are expanding the map, a senior campaign advisor speaking on coordination of anonymity told reporters. So far, only 20 out of 264 Democrats in the Congress have called on Biden to drop out. At least 18 more people were killed and over 2,500 injured in Bangladesh on Thursday, media reports said, as violence escalated in the capital Dhaka and elsewhere over student protests demanding quota system reform for government jobs, taking the toll to 25 since the protest erupted. Witnesses said the protesters laid a siege on the state-run Bangladesh television Bhavan in Rampura area in Dhaka and damaged its front side, tore several parked vehicles. University students in Dhaka and other cities have been holding rallies for more than a week protesting the system for reservation in public sector jobs, including that for the relatives of war heroes who fought for the country's independence from Pakistan in 1971. At least 18 people were killed and more than 2,500 were injured in nationwide clashes between protesters and law enforcers and ruling party men, newspaper said. The major clashes between protesters and police erupted in the Uttara area of the capital, where several private universities are located. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a surprise visit to troops in southern Gaza on Thursday, saying it was essential that Israel keep control of a strip of territory along the territory's border with Egypt, just days before he was set to give a speech to the US Congress. In his comments at Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, Netanyahu sounded a tone of triumph in the campaign against Hamas and underscored the differences that still remain in months-long attempts to reach a ceasefire. Netanyahu's visit to Rafah was announced hours after Israel's far-right national security minister most sensitively holy site visited Jerusalem's most sensitive holy site. Israeli negotiators landed in Cairo on Wednesday to keep working on the talks. Tensions over the compound have fueled past rounds of violence. The Palestinian foreign minister condemned visit as a provocative intrusion and endangered the fragile status quo regarding the Jerusalem compound, which is revered by Jews as the Temple Mount and by Muslims as Haram al-Sharif, a holy site and important national symbol. The two leaders' visit came hours after Israel's parliament overwhelmingly passed a resolution rejecting the establishment of a Palestinian state. The vote in an overnight session that lasted into Thursday morning was largely symbolic and meant to send a message ahead of Netanyahu's trip to US. Netanyahu's office announced that his visit to Rafah once he had exited the war-torn Palestinian territory. Israeli forces hit areas in the central Gaza Strip on Wednesday, killing at least 9 Palestinians, according to health officials, while Israeli tanks carried out a limited advance further into Rafah in the south. Over the past 24 hours, Israeli strikes have killed at least 81 Palestinians and wounded 198, the Gaza Health Ministry said. One of the most anticipated events of the year, the FE Modern BFSI Summit kicks off in Mumbai on Friday with India's ace financial sector regulators and A-listers from the industry brainstorming on the country's future growth trajectory and maintaining financial stability. Just 4 days ahead of the union budget to be presented next Tuesday, the highlight of the day-long annual event at the President Hotel at Kufi Parade in South Mumbai will be inaugural address by Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das, whose comments will be closely followed by the stakeholders on India's economy and business. After all, when the governor speaks on what could unfold tomorrow, everybody listens. The Green Revolution saw India become self-sufficient, if not surplus, in wheat and rice. This was thanks to high-yielding varieties bred by institutions such as the Mexico-based CIMMYT, International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, and New Delhi's Indian Agricultural Research Institute under the leadership of scientists like Norman and MS Swaminathan. Another revolution, albeit less celebrated, has also taken place in India in maize. Between 1999 and 2023-24, its annual output has more than tripled from 11 to over 35 million tons, with average per hectare yield raising from 1.8 to 3.3 tons. Unlike rice and wheat, hardly a fifth of India's maize production is used for direct human consumption. An estimated 60% goes to as feed for poultry, birds and livestock. This is indirectly consumed as food in the form of chicken, egg or milk. A market-ready broiler weighing 2 to 2.5 kg consumes some 4 kg of feed during its rearing cycle, effectively making the chicken we eat maize with wings. Broiler feeds contain 55 to 65% maize by weight, while egg layer feed contains 50 to 60% and cattle feed 15 to 20% maize. Maize supplies carbohydrates, the principal energy source for poultry and livestock. Food and feed apart, 14 to 15% of India's maize utilization is for industrial purposes. Food and feed. Now maize has emerged as a feedstock for ethanol that is used for blending with petrol. Distilleries run on sugarcane molasses and juice syrup during the crushing session. In the off season, when cane is not available, they use grains. Until recently, surplus rice from the Food Corporation of India was being used for this purpose. But with the government stopping this supply on concerns over depleting stocks and food security, the focus has shifted to maize. The 2 days after he escaped attempted assassination and immediately raised a defiant fist in what has become the defining image of his campaign to win back the White House. Donald Trump picked V.D. Vance, and junior senator from Ohio, to be his running mate for the November election. Vance, 39 in his first millennial on the ticket, and if elected, will be the youngest vice president of the United States since the Civil War. The nomination has generated understandable interest in India because of his Indian origin wife, whose extended family is from Andhra Pradesh. Usha Vance Chilukuri, a successful corporate litigator, is described by Vance by his best-selling book, This. Indian origin immigrants make up just under 1.5% of American population but are successful stars in a range of fields. Indian American CEOs run Google, Microsoft, IBM, Adobe and Starbucks, for example, and Indian Americans have the highest median households income by the US by the ethnic group. Their success story has been tapped by Prime Minister Modi in the outreach to the Indian diaspora in the US since 2014, when he addressed a gathering at Madison Square Garden, and his slogan of Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar at the Howdy Modi rally in Houston in September 19 rings a bell to many of the Trump campaign. World T20 champions India will travel to Sri Lanka with a new leadership group. Coach Gautam Gambhir, captain Surya Kumar Yadav and vice captain Shubman Gill. The transition in the game's most popular format comes within weeks of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli and Ravindra Jadeja calling time on their T20 careers. The big three, all in their mid to the late 30s, had announced their retirement last month after the end of India's long wait for an ICC title, which came on head coach Rahul Dravid's last day in the job. The selection meeting that had redrawn the Indian dressing room hierarchy went on for several hours over 2 days. Those in the know talk about differences of opinions, negotiations and heated debates. During the meetings, calls were made to several players and long-term plans were shared with them. This was by now meeting stretch of imagination just another selection committee for an bilateral series next door. Surya ahead of Hardik and Gill before Rahul are significant calls for the future of Indian cricket. Squad for the Sri Lanka 2 T20: Surya Kumar Yadav captain, Shubman Gill vice captain, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rinku Singh, Riyan Parag, Rishabh Pant, Sanju Samson, Hardik Pandya, Shivam Dube, Akshar Patel, Washington Sundar, Ravi Bishnoi, Arshdeep Singh, Khalil Ahmed and Mohammad Siraj. ODI: Rohit Sharma captain, Shubman Gill vice captain, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant, Shreyas Iyer, Shivam Dube, Kuldeep Yadav, Mohammad Siraj, Washington Sundar, Arshdeep Singh, Riyan Parag, Akshar Patel, Khalil Ahmed and Harshit Rana.